Hello and welcome back to the Movie Pope podcast. And today we're going to change things up a little bit. Over the past few weeks, we've chatted about how AI is taking over the film industry and will possibly wipe us all out and taking our jobs. And we also talked about how to run a film festival. But today, we're going to take a break from film and everything scary with AI and go into music with my guest, Christian Steadfast Love. But before we dive in, remember to like, comment, subscribe, because I see some of y'all are watching, but you're not subscribed and sharing the love. So please do so. It helps us immensely. And let's go ahead and get started. Christian, my man, how are you doing on this fine Saturday afternoon, sir?
Fantastic. Every day is a blessing, my friend.
Now, before we got on, I believe you said you were in Nashville, around that area.
Well, I'm out of Minneapolis. I just
Oh,
I work
Minneapolis.
as an
Okay.
aspiring Nashville artist because that's where I'm trying to push my music. That's where a huge music scene is, where a lot of people get heard, get seen, and make moves. So that's kind of my hub. But I have family here in the middle of the country in Minneapolis, and I'm trying to take a taste of Nashville and bring it back here without the bounds of country music, but the same kind of feeling of music. Prince used to have it here. There used to be a huge music scene here, and I really want to encompass that again, but with all genres of music coming together.
Okay. So, because I didn't know that, because usually when I think of music in the Midwest, I automatically think of
Country.
Uh, well, no, I was thinking of I was thinking of Detroit actually, because of the
Oh,
Motown
sure,
sound.
sure.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so like from like the probably like late 50s to probably early 80s, Detroit was like the hub of of music in that area, and plus to
Oh,
produce a
baby.
lot of great musicians, obviously.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so I just want to start off. So why exactly did you decide to go to or focus on Nashville? Why didn't you focus on like the big music centers like L.A., New York, or even Atlanta?
So I'm from the Boston area originally.
Hmm.
I've been in New York and I've been down to Florida. I got my first taste of LA and California a couple years ago,
Hmm.
2020. And I'll tell you one thing. Uh, Nashville's got a powerful space in the music industry. Country music is changing in a way that is starting to allow more other styles within the country music to expand from it.
Hmm.
And I feel like I put a cowboy hat on, I put some boots on, and I do my thing. And I call myself an alternate country artist. And Christian Steadfast sits really well in that space. So if I went to LA, I'd probably have to push out a lot more than just kind of like this area of focus I have. If I went back to New York, I'd be competing with a lot of amazing talents coming from, the art schools and music schools, just amazing talent out there. I
Yeah.
think in Nashville, my style of music and what I do, it's complementary to where I'm headed. And I think I will be in LA. I think I will be in New York eventually because of what I actually do behind Christian Steadfast. There's more to my music than just what I'm presenting, but this is one facet that I see success in. And I'm already seeing success even in the little steps I've taken so far.
So can you so can you maybe like talk about like what your process was? How is it you decided to go from where you were in Minnesota to try to develop this this I guess what's the best way to say musical persona, and craft it in such a way that that it becomes palatable and gains the
Nashville.
I guess national, local, and national recognition.
Well, I've been playing music since I was like 19. Lead singer. It's kind of where I started. I taught myself all the instruments. I play 5 instruments and some better than others. But I've realized as a vocalist and a front man that no matter where you are matters. I mean, if I was in the middle of um, Arizona or if I was up in Montana, I don't have as much as an opportunity as somebody who in some of these other places to get seen and get heard and get pushed out. And what I realized is when I said, okay, well, where would I want my music to get a start? Where would I see like that's the best kind of a catalyst for a good exposure and a good jump start. And I said, okay, I kind of do rock pretty well. I'm a pretty decent vocalist. Country wasn't first on my repertoire, but I have Southern blood, and my nana's from Alabama, and I got family all down there. And I was like, I've been calling people darling and sweetheart. My draw's there, whether I like it or not. I'm a Yank. I grew up. If I was born in Providence, Rhode Island, and grew up in Massachusetts, outside of Boston and Worcester, right? But for some reason, my blood and my the deeper parts of me bring me back to that southern space. And so I started writing in that, and I noticed it was happening. The songs were coming out that way. They were really starting to flow. And I said, okay, what can I do here? I tried it in Minneapolis. I went around town. I started playing covers a lot to make music, but I didn't really see the scene picking here. So I realized I had to go to where the exposure made sense. So I started building a persona based off of where I wanted to go. I was manifesting my location, and I was doing the acts to build that up. My wardrobe, my song choices, who I'm connecting with are very Nashville oriented artists, and it's walked me down this path to that destination. I was just there 2 weeks ago, managing another artist out of Vancouver coming into Nashville. And because I have, Nashville on my profiles, he thought I was in Nashville, reached out to me and asked me to be there and meet him. When I told him I was in Minneapolis, after 5 minutes of a conversation, he didn't care. He said, "Oh, just meet me in Nashville." Right. So, where you want to set your destination, I set my goal there, and I've been doing pretty much all these steps to get there, and now I'm starting to see that it come to fruition.
So when you started off, did you did you have to because I remember way back in the day reading about how Taylor Swift got her start, and she said that she would go to like all these different studio execs office and just drop off a demo tape and just wait for a callback. Is that something that you did, or
No, I thought
what?
about it. I have papers and lists. I have venues. I have a list of 500 venues. I have a folder full of every single label in the United States. I haven't gone that route. I'm trusting the work I'm doing as an artist is going to open up they're going to come to me.
Hmm.
They're going to want me. I'm going to have them seeking me out eventually. And I know that because um, already the experience I had in Nashville, not even going as an artist, but going as a manager, my name's already planted seeds. I already have people who know of me and want to work with me just with the little experience they've had. If I do this right, all those doors will open up.
So do you see your path at the moment, more along the lines of managing or
Yeah.
performing?
Yeah. Right now, I am focused on other artists and helping them get up and get going. And I'm a consultant on the side. I do multiple different business styles of consulting. One has to do with production. One has to do with marketing and branding.
Mhm.
And now I'm walking into management of like tour management and stuff. So and artist management. So I'm going to continue to work my artistry, but I'm a turtle. I'm a tortoise. I'm not the hare when it comes to the music. I'm very low key. I'm not. I'm showy when the time is right, when the lights are on. Outside of that, I work on so many things that like as an artist, I'd burn myself out so fast if that's what I did and that's all I did.
Right.
So by me pouring out into other artists, it's going to give me the opportunities and the doors get behind the right places to talk to the right faces. It already has by helping other artists with their visions and their goals. So that's what I'm doing right now. I really want to help others, and in turn, by helping others, it will help me reach the plateaus I'm trying to get to, and then the next step and the next step. Because we always hit that. What do I want now? And then you get it. Well, now what? Do you just sit on that plateau and stay there? Well, maybe for a minute and enjoy the view, but now I'm going to set my sights on the next level, right? So for me, the right now level is getting my songs demoed properly and to get recorded professionally and then get shared internationally. those are my 3 steps as an artist. But in the meantime, I'm helping other artists do the same thing.
Gotcha. So it seems like you know the artist aspects kind of put on the back burner while you focus on
Yeah,
managing.
it's still cooking, you know. I
Okay.
got it on low, you know. It's I don't want it to boil over kind of thing, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
it's always there from the time is right. I could turn the heat up. You know, I got to perform a couple songs while I was out there in Nashville, and it's funny because I didn't go into it prepared for it at all. The first time I didn't have the stuff I need. I ended up playing with my phone on my guitar, playing a song. The second time, so I'd use somebody else's guitar, and the battery died halfway through my song. You know, and it was a pretty large group of people in a pretty esteemed location. Yet everybody was saying, "Hey, great job, great job." I'm in the back of my head like that was the worst nightmare. That like the probably the worst thing that could have happened to me was my guitar dying out on me in my track. But I just played it off like nothing happened. And what I realized is I need to make sure that even though I am there for others, I got to be prepared for me too
Yeah.
because opportunities will arise. So you say, you know, I can say it's on the back burner, but it's not really gone. It's not out of mind, out of sight type of thing, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
it's just more of like prioritizing others before myself, but also doing the work for myself. So I'm there, I'm present, and I'm ready when the opportunities arise.
I've spoken with with film directors, editors, producers, and other musicians in previous episodes. But you're actually the first person who actually actively manages other artists. Can you talk about what that's like and what goes into managing an artist's career?
So, you know, it started with me uh helping people out in the studio. It's kind of like where it started. I was out in San Francisco and San Jose, Sacramento. I was just looking for my own way, going into studios and meeting different artists. I don't even know how met these guys. It's just kind of this random. Maybe I was looking for somebody, found them online, but it just so happened that they needed help, they needed work, and
Hmm.
I went in the studio with them. You know, saying, "Hey, let me just see what I can do to help." And I started working with an artist right then and there. I was like, "Hey," and then I started working with the producer, and I'm like, I like this. You know, my history as a consultant and a trainer really went well into the music side of it because I have so much experience on both sides of these sides between business consulting and training and music development and production that I just found that this happy home in it. And what I realized is I needed a lot of help as an artist. And there wasn't anybody there to just help me and guide me and give me like focused goal setting and then to help me execute them along the way. So I said, well, how can I help these guys? And I've realized some people aren't going to change. And if people aren't willing to change and adjust, they're on their own. And you have to figure that out. So some artists are tough to work with because they have their vision and it's like you don't want anybody to adjust that. So malleable artists are what I'm looking for. I become a consultant because I can choose who I work with and who I don't work. So when I say management, I use that term loosely in a sense of like I'm not writing a contract up with them and I'm obligated to them. No
Yeah, yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah. Because
If this
when you
guy's
say manager, I automatically think is it the same as like an agent managing an actor, or
No, because
it
they're
has to be.
signing documents with each other and they're obligated to each other in a way where, like,
Okay.
this guy's stuck with this artist. I'm not stuck with anybody. I use the consulting term for a reason. If you're a nightmare, I'm not sleeping that on my head anymore. If you're a terrible person or you have bad values and morals and your agenda is all twacked out, I want nothing to do with you. I want to work with people who have genuine heart for the music and their audiences. They're not money hungry. They're not, infested with all these debaucheries at all occasions. They can't focus on the music and that they don't see the value in what money's being spent. Because it takes money, it takes time, and you have to invest in yourself,
Yeah.
right? And some of that is developing a better version of yourself on a regular basis. I'm a better vocalist. I'm a better music theorist. I'm a better in the production studio, so I'm not wasting people's time. It's um it's a tough business, man. It really is. And I've realized when it comes to working with artists, I enjoy them because they're a challenge. But I also know when to say this is too much, this is not going to work, and walk away because
So
they are
okay, gotcha.
they're a challenge.
So obviously you don't want to work with people who who get in their heads that they're divas, or yeah, at the same time you don't want them to just be motivated solely by greed. They're
Yeah,
only
yeah,
doing it for the
exactly.
money.
Yeah,
Have
yeah.
a little bit of artistic integrity, so to
Yeah,
speak.
exactly. Exactly. And there's two things I say when it comes to connections for me across the board: honesty and consideration. Those two things are everything. If you can't consider the hotel manager or the restaurant host or the taxi cab driver, if you can't be considerate to these people, I'm not going to work with you and bring you into some of these high-end rooms with executives and A&Rs. Like I'm if you can't treat these people right, I'm not open those doors for you to go this way.
So
Right.
basically, don't be a Keith Moon, right?
Sure. Yeah, yeah. No, you're don't be slapping people around acting like you're better than anybody, right? Like
Yeah,
you're given an opportunity to use a skill and an ability that you have to gift the world with. You aren't the gift, right? You are giving the gift. And so it's I guess a good word for it is like humility, people kind of throw that word around a bit, but it is a strong attribute to humble yourself, especially when you have uh these accolades that you're getting. That's one of the toughest things. So I'm not going to work with somebody who their head's so big they can't carry it. It's falling off their body, and they don't see the little things that are going on around them because
yeah.
those are the things that matter to me. Somebody holding a door for somebody else. Like I look for that when it comes to my clients, little things like that. I pay for things at the store for people. You see people like they can't, oh, something's happened, blah, blah. I got you. And I'm not wealthy in a way. Money matters to me, but it's a tool. And you're either going to use the tool or it's going to abuse you, right? And so I feel like I want to make sure the people I work with have integrity.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, and I remember having a conversation with Rodney Stringfellow. He's a writer and he teaches screenwriting at the university in my city, and he was pretty much saying the same thing that you were saying, that if when you work in the film industry, people want to know who they're working with. They don't want to work with someone who's an asshole, to use his turn of phrase.
Yeah.
So it's not entirely different from from the film industry in that respect, because either way, I mean, especially if you're a musician, sometimes you're going to be find yourself working with the same producers or the same engineers or even the same session musicians over and over again,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I've been in acting, and I the last project I was on, I was not only an actor, but I also was on set, and I worked with as an assistant, an AD, and I was definitely humbled by the experience because saying thank you to the people, everybody, like I built relationships with the crew members that none of the cast members had because they were just kind of in their own little cast pocket, right? And they
Yeah.
don't see the cameraman and the light guy and the sound guy. But I like to work on both ends. I learned in theater years ago when I was an actor. Um, I worked on the set and I pulled stuff off and I worked with the crew. And I loved that because I got a full experience of the whole thing. I knew everybody. Everybody knew me, and if I can help out, I'm going to help out. There's not just one area to things. People don't see it all, I think, they come in with their agenda. And I like to step back and be participant in everything. I wear a lot of hats. I'll just say it that way. Like literally,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I wear a lot of hats. And that's kind of my thing. Where I lack in capacity, I have a lot of creativity. Like I'm very good on spot operations, logistics. So, I was helping by the end of that production I just was in. I
Hmm.
was literally working with the director and the lighting crew and the sound crew and And I was just a set guy. And I'm working, I'm changing things in the show by them listening to my, my perception of it. They're changing angles, they're changing lighting, and who am I but an actor coming in here, right? But I earned the influence by being more than what they thought I was when I first walked in.
Gotcha.
I earn
Yeah.
their respect because I'm willing to be humble, but I'm also confident. So
I mean,
there's two pieces of that.
I mean that's a fascinating thing too, because because whenever you go on set, you kind of it's kind of like being in high school. Really, everything's kind of split up into like these two
Yes,
different groups,
yes,
because you got the
yes,
actors. I guess you could say the actors are kind of like the jock types, and then the crew, they're like the AV club. They're the
sure.
nerds. But
Yeah, yeah.
in one way or another, you realize that you kind of need both of them,
You
really.
do. And again, like I told you earlier before we started this program, the insight I gave you is that I believe that everybody has qualities and attributes that are worthwhile and you
Hmm.
can learn from anybody. And, being around the sound guys and the lighting guys and the videographers, I learned. And then because of that, I was able to integrate something that I saw that they didn't see, and they trusted it because they saw that I was listening, I was paying attention, I was participating. I wasn't coming in arrogant, telling everybody what to do and how to do it. It was more like learning, getting better, having the experience, then bringing my attributes into the point when they were necessary. And at that point, I was like, hey, I'm seeing something here. What do you guys think? And they were like, that's perfect. I changed the script by the end of it. They were changing verbiage, the placement of certain things. What's the other word? Where things, I was catching things that they weren't catching,
Yeah.
because when you shoot 3 or 4 shots of the same shot, things get shifted and move, right? Continuity is the word, right? Keeping that continuity straight. I have an eye for that. Oh, that cup is now on the floor to the left when it was up on the table those last 2 shots, right?
Yeah.
I've noticed that for years with movies. My dad was always, oh, there's another one. Oh, there's another one. I'm like, Dad, how do you even see these things? And now I'm that guy. I see a movie and I'm talking about Hollywood movies where I'm seeing continuity out of place of blowing my mind, right? But I bring that's some of the confidence I'm saying, or I bring that with me. I don't bring it arrogantly, but I bring it in with me when the time is right. I share it because we are a team. Let's just say it that way, right? Whatever progress we're working on, it is a team progress. And if I'm not trying to do it to get accolades, I'm doing it for the whole team, then I work with everybody. We're all in this together. The outcome is all that matters.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that's the common theme that you learn when talking to people who work in the industry. There's no room for ego. It's just
No, you
a
can't.
team effort.
But there's
Um,
so much there, though. There's so much ego there, though. It's tough sometimes.
yeah. So I actually want to ask you. So in terms of consulting and helping managing up and coming artists, what would you say would be the most difficult aspect of that job,
You know,
if you had
trust.
to pick one?
Trust, building trust, because everybody feels like everybody has an agenda. I have to get paid, right? Let's just be real about it. My time
Yeah.
is valuable. I got to get paid. And it's hard because you don't want them to think that it's all about the money for you. Like I'm doing this because I want to make more money. Like, so I think one of the things I've always been able to do is keep my costs low. I earn my dollars with my clients. I let them typically set the first month. What do you want to pay? Okay, perfect. In the first 90 days, we will taper up to my cost, right? If you don't think I'm worth it after 90 days, no problem. So I've gotten to a point because of sales, my background, incentivizing them to work with me by bringing my value down and sweat equitying my way back into my value. I earn, my dollars with them. So I would say,
Make them see the value of working with you,
yeah,
right?
exactly, exactly. And it's like, and I let them name their price because they can't say I'm too expensive if they're the one that put the dollar amount down. Well, you were obviously willing to pay that amount of money because you suggested it, right? And I'll say this, that trust factor in this industry is tough to find. It's tough to find people that you can trust. So especially coming from my area where I'm asking them to pay me to help them, build their branding, if they will, right? And then the trusting is really to help them change. So those go hand in hand. Building the trust for change, I feel like it's the same thing. It's like two entities that come together. So those are the toughest things because they're not always willing to make those adjustments. I lost my last client because she told me after almost a year of working with her, well, I like doing things my way. Okay, I get that. Your way must have been cool, but it's not profitable. If it was profitable, you wouldn't have hired me. You wouldn't have needed me. I'm not telling you you suck. I'm just telling you there needs to be adjustments in areas so you can be better to compete with the people doing the things at the level you want to do it. And if you're not willing to do that, we need to part ways. You're wasting my time and you're wasting your own money.
Right.
But
So let me
she didn't trust the change.
So let me ask you this. So, so obviously on paper, when when you say, you got to make these adjustments, it looks pretty easy, right? But
Sure, yeah,
how,
application.
but how, but how difficult are these adjustments when, when they try to put them into practice?
I make them fairly easy. As a trainer, I've trained guys that go door to door. That is a very tough job. You don't know what you're walking into. It doesn't even matter what you're selling, I say, but it's a tough job to train. But I used to say it this way: I'm going to train you to take the first step. After that, a lot of it's going to come to how you respond to the second, third, and fourth step, right? It's an attitude thing. So if you go into these steps with a good attitude, knowing that they're going to help you, then you're going to see the changes. You're going to get better at it. If you go into it and you're drudging through it and you slow down your pace, by the time you get to the fifth step towards the door, you don't want to do what you're doing. It doesn't matter how hard it is. You've made it harder for yourself.
And they can sort of
So
see it too.
yeah, so exactly. And it's everything after that. No matter what I train them in, the third, fourth, fifth step, it's not going to matter because they killed their progress along the way. It's a momentum thing. Getting better at these things is staying consistent. It's what's the word I use? A gyration. You know what a gyro is, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
once you take, it's hard to get going. Oh man, this is tough. But once you get that momentum going, to keep it going, it takes less energy. But when you slow down on that consistency, it gets heavier and it gets harder to get it back going again. So
Hmm.
for me, the hard part really is getting them going strong and staying consistent in that to build their confidence up. Because then when they're there, it's just this easy 1-2 thing instead of, oh God, I got to start all over again. Right? We lose a lot of people in this portion of it because it's hard work getting started.
But I mean, like, but to piggyback off what you were saying, I mean, technically, you're not really responsible for their attitude. You can tell them what the attitude
I
should
am
be,
not.
but yeah, you can
No.
tell them. Let's say, for instance, you need to, always be smiling when you do this. But if the person doesn't want to smile when they're doing this, obviously that's something you can force them to
But
do.
that's
That's
the action part, right?
yeah.
So it's two things I can't control. The only things I can control for myself and other people is their actions and their attitude. I
Hmm.
cannot control that for somebody else. I can control that for me. I can't control that for you. But I can train you in a way to show you the value of those things. So when you are doing the actions and you're applying the proper attitude, you can see the results of that. And
But
when
but
you do,
but it's still on them to decide if they want
of
to
course it
actually.
is, but
Yeah.
I like it that way. I know who I'm working with, right? There has been I have trained 7 people at one time, and then at the end of the month, there's only 2 of them left. That's a normal thing, right? Because you cannot control what they choose or how they choose to do it. All you can do is give them the resources and the tools, and really build the confidence in using them. Like if I give somebody a hammer and I just give them
Mhm.
the hammer, there's the nail. That's all right. But if I take the hammer, I take the nail, I go over and I show them, look, I'm going to show them the perfect way to do this. You make sure you're looking at the head of the nail. Don't look at the hammer, just look at the head of the nail. And then, two big boom, boom, you're done. If I gave them that type of instruction compared to, say, another guy who I just gave the hammer to, there's going to be a different confidence in the guy that got that step-by-step instruction. They're more likely going to get more work done than the other guy who's still trying to figure out and they're hitting their thumb every 5 minutes.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
yes, I can't control their attitude or their action, but I can control in the way I prepare them to have a good outcome, which will in turn probably make them more proficient and do more and have a better attitude while they're doing it.
Yeah, and that's definitely something that applies to not only the music industry but everywhere, really.
Everywhere. I told you I'm a consultant in multiple areas. I do consulting for corporate mindset for people who are in corporate. There's a lot of toxicity in the corporate world, and
Hmm.
I've had a lot of clients of mine that are having a hard time in their career, and they're at high levels in their career working with high participants. So I help them stay in this positive space and make adjustments to deal with that toxicity in a way where they're giving back. And the stuff that's changed in the last 2 years for some of these clients is crazy. I mean, the dollar amount changes, the position that they're in now, the upgrades they've gotten, their income, like just the relationships with not only their upper management but their lower participants. It
Hmm.
blows my mind because if more people would just hear some of the stuff I say and just apply it, it would just be like this blanketed effect in the companies, right? But you take one, what do they say? One bad apple ruins the bunch. That's not a lie. That's a real thing, and it takes some of the uppers to understand that you got to pull out negativity, and if somebody's not willing to make that change, you have to be the one to change that. Like I said, I don't write up contracts I'm stuck in. Every one of my contracts has a clause that I can pull out for any reason that I feel like it's impacting me or my resources in a negative way. And there's dollar amount fees typically that I put on it. If you make me pull out of this, I'm going to charge you because my plan was to work with you for a year. So if you give me a reason within the first 6 months to pull out, there's going to be a cost to it. So I give them incentive to stay to not make bad decisions, to stay
Yeah.
within that action field. But it's happened. And there's times I haven't taken the fee and I just walked away because it's just easier. I don't I do it at the beginning, but I don't always pull the dollar amount at the end, depending on the situation, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it is tough. It is tough to be in a position to try to get people to change.
So so we're getting near the end of our conversation, and like I said, I could chat with you for a long time, but I didn't know you have an event to get to pretty shortly. But before we sign off, if people want to learn more about you, if they want to reach out and learn possibly use your services, how can they do that?
So I'm going to be changing some of my online profiles. Christian Steadfast on Instagram, Christian Steadfast on Facebook. I keep it pretty much focused on the music side of it because again, that's kind of the entity I'm working with.
Hmm.
But anybody that gets to know me knows I wear a lot of hats. I do a lot of things. So you can find me on Instagram, Christian Steadfast. Find me on Facebook, Christian Steadfast. I keep it pretty simple. I have I told you earlier, I have a book, CS Love, I go by. It's called Willing and Able. This is a book for freedom. So I also, you can find other elements of me. I did a podcast, personal improvement podcast under Christian Steadfast Love. So,
Okay.
you know, easiest way I always say Facebook and Instagram right now. It's just a great resource for people to connect. From there, sky's the limit. If you have things that you're looking for support, I'm there. If you're looking to connect me to somebody else, it's easy to share. Um, More music to come in the year ahead.
Yeah.
I'm really going to be pushing some things, not only for other artists, but me as an artist. There's a lot of things coming my way, and we'll be talking again. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I like I said, I mean, before we chatted, I mean, we were chatting about everything from from acting to Magic the Gathering to this game you were telling me about. I'm like, I need to have this guy back on, pretty soon because there are just so many things we could chat about here.
Yeah, I do a
Um,
lot, man. I do a lot.
I love
I,
that. I love that about people.
I do nutritional health consulting too, and exercise. I think mind, body, and soul is one thing for one person, right? You have to break them up into different parts, but really the one entity is you. It's self. And I'm a self-help, self-love kind of guy. I changed my name to Love for a reason. I took
Yeah.
the E out because LOV, it's not about me, it's about everyone else. I don't know if you heard the word agape love.
Yeah. I got
It's
it's
a
it's one of the four
sacrificial
loves.
love.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've cut a part of me away to become this, right? And so LOV for me is my way to tell people, hey, I'm sacrificing this life I have for everybody because I want to impact the world. I want to change the world. I'm not here to just play music. That's just what the gift I've been given to be able to. I've realized in music there's no language, right? So I can impact more, and then my words that I write down can be changed into other languages and formed into other people's understanding. So I
Hmm.
started writing. Now, will I do more? Probably. There'll probably more to come. But right now I'm early 40s. I still feel like I'm in my 20s. I hit a reset button. I got kids, which that fulfilled a huge part of my life. I have three boys and a couple stepkids I had from a previous marriage. And my life now is continuing exponentially growing and developing into a better life. And it's going to only get better from here, you
Wow.
know? So I feel like staying in touch is a good thing because for us, you can see the development and the growth. And I'm here to help you. You help me, I help you. If my
Yeah.
name, when my name becomes something and they search for me, they're going to be connected to you because of this. And I want that
Yeah.
same opportunity for other artists and people you're working with.
I mean, that's part of the reason why I started the podcast, because apart from just sitting down with friends and talking about movies, it's also just reaching out and just chatting with people, because you never know what will become of them in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, and that's what I do these two. I have my own thing called Steadfast Showcase, and it's the same entity of helping musicians get a platform and to be able to use it to get jobs, to get gigs, right? If
Yeah.
I'm showing interest in them, right, and I'm interviewing them, that gives them an opportunity to show. It's like emphasizing their value to another person.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, I've been on this interview or whatever, and they can use that to get gigs, to get paid, to live their life as musicians, as artists. So I've realized, like what you do, there's benefit in that. So keep it up, keep going.
Yeah.
I always be willing to send other artists your way
Yeah,
down the
I
road.
appreciate that. I mean, because like I said, we're looking to grow the podcast, and you'll probably appreciate this too, because because when I started off with doing this podcast, I was thinking, oh man, like the first 6 months, I'm gonna have like thousands and thousands of subs and thousands of views, but obviously it's very humbling to see. You're lucky if you get like 100 views
Sure.
on any one video, and it's very easy to just say, yeah, I don't see the point in doing this. I'm just going to give up. But at the same time, it's kind of like what you were saying earlier about just putting yourself in that mindset of just doing this consistently, over and over again. You kind of have to put yourself in that mindset. You just got to keep working, because every day you're doing this, you're improving more than how you were doing it yesterday. And
And you never know. You never know who
yeah,
you're going to connect
exactly.
with. Yep.
Exactly. And what really struck me was the fact that like like yesterday, I was thinking about starting a series on the podcast called Myth, Magic, and Movies. And I was like, you know what? I never would have thought about doing something like this 6 months ago, but now like it just seems quite pertinent. And even if people aren't interested in it, I still want to do it, because it's just something that I feel is just part of my step in my journey in doing this
Sure. Sure.
overall.
I
Um,
never thought I'd be writing a book. I never thought I'd be writing
yeah,
another book. You're right. It's like I've always kind of felt like it was there, but now that I've done it and it's put together, it's like now I want to continue to do it. And I think the same thing's going to happen for you as you start making these adjustments with your podcast. It's like, okay, well, I can do this, and maybe that's where it goes. It could be
yeah.
crazy. That could be the direction that you find your success in, even though it was maybe the last thing on your list of priority. It's like, oh, I didn't see that going anywhere, but it works for you because it's genuine,
Yeah, because
right?
because I'm genuinely interested in doing this. It's not just
Yeah,
I'm doing it because everybody else is doing it, so might as
sure.
well.
Yeah, it's not trend for you.
So, so as this is a movie podcast, I have to ask, what's your favorite movie or TV show that you've seen recently that you just want to tell everybody about and just say, hey, drop everything right now and go watch this, and then let me know what you think.
So I'll say first, my favorite movie of all time is The Count of Monte Cristo.
Is that
If
the
you know
one
that.
with is that the one with Jim Caviezel?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yeah. It's not the most modern, I think, but it was not the original. But yeah, I think it was 90s or 2000s. I think somewhere in there. But
I
um,
think that might have been one with Richard Harris before he became Dumbledore. Is that?
probably yes, yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
He's the old
because he was
man.
playing the old man in the
Yeah,
jail
yeah,
cell. Yeah.
dude. That movie just touches me in a space because there's so much to it, right? The betrayal and the coming back. But I just recently finished a series, Black Sails,
Oh, the
and
one with Taika Waititi or
oh my gosh.
Black
Now it's a
Sails. Hold
bit
on.
profound. I was so using the word like gritty and raunchy because I mean they're pirates. They're pirates. My buddy's like, oh, there's so much nudity. I'm like, they're pirates. They
Uh,
live in brothels. Like it's of course if they didn't show that, it wouldn't be authentic. It wouldn't make sense. And the storyline, the character development, so much goes on in this show where I was just sucked right into it. I mean, I'm a binge watcher. I don't like to watch a show while it's active. I like to
mhm.
watch the show all like in this little window of time when it's all done, and I don't have to wait for nothing. That's kind of how I typically like to watch, and I'll
Me
rewatch
too.
it. I'll rewatch. I've watched Game of Thrones so many times. I don't even. It's silly, and I'll go back and watch certain seasons of that. So I think that's where it catches me. The feel like the authenticity and the fights and the battle scenes and a lot of the stuff that goes on. It's so well done. I mean, I really enjoyed Black Sails. The character Flint, where he came from, where he ended up. It's just like they got me. I love movies, and when they're well done, it's like that's what I get. Television shows a little bit harder for me because there's more to it,
Yeah.
but they just got me. So if you haven't seen it, watch it.
I was gonna say because when you mentioned Black Sails, it made me think of of the most recent version of the Three Musketeers because they split up into two parts, and it's in French, but you can watch in subtitles. But man, the action sequences are amazing, and
Do you
even
watch international movies? Do you watch other
yeah,
stuff like that? Yeah, I think
yeah,
that's
I
opened
make it
up
a point
to
to
us.
do that.
That has
But
definitely like I watched a lot of stuff in like from the Asian culture because it's stuff I never usually watch. And I'm not talking about like, like Japanese kung fu movies like I used to watch,
or
but I'm
anime,
talking
yeah,
more of like I'm talking about real television shows. Oh, what's the one I just saw? Thor, is it Thor? No, Ragnarok. They're overdubbed. I think it's out in not Amsterdam, but Norway or something like that. I'm
yeah.
just realizing international shows now, like there's so much cool stuff going on because it's so different from what we're used to
Hmm.
day to day when we grew up on television shows on network. These are a whole different production, and
It's
there's more
it's
authenticity.
funny. It's funny you mentioned that because when I did my film festival panel last week, we were actually talking about how because one of the panelists she runs the Alexandria Film Festival up in Northern Virginia, and
Sure.
they get a lot of entries from filmmakers from overseas, and she's like, the storytelling techniques that they use overseas is very different from the Anglo-American way
Yeah,
because with us
sure.
it's very predictable. It's the three-act structure and everything, but they just subvert everything, just twist everything on their heads, and that's what makes them so fascinating.
Yeah, it's cool. That's
So
a good word for it. Yeah, it's definitely fascinating. It's intriguing to me. Like the Squid Game when that came out, right? The first episode, I was like, I cannot watch this. This is brutal, right?
because it's not within
Right in your
the American
face.
frame of reference. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not a normal thing, right? There's no tapering in. It's just like right in your face. But I really, really enjoyed that show. I mean, I really got into it, and it's insane. I mean, it's literally insane. But it was just like that was what I was. It set the bar different for me. Do you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, yeah,
it was
yeah.
like, ah, man, I can't watch regular TV the way anymore because now I've been opened up to something just way deeper and more developed in an idea. So
Pandora's box is open.
I'm gonna be writing a screenplay at some point here. I'm looking to write a series of books, um, basically focused on magic and mystery. And so I say it's
Oh,
like think of Sherlock Holmes meets Harry Potter, right? Kind of
yeah.
that idea, but more realistic, very raw and
Oh,
realistic.
ooh, Christian,
So
you're speaking my language now because
yeah, yeah.
I read that stuff.
So I'm hoping that's after I'm done the second book, which are both self-help books. I'm going to start getting into fiction and writing these, but I'm not just writing them to be books. I want to write them as screenplays as well, because sometimes you get the books into film and they lose some credibility, right? So I want to make sure I'm working with a team that helps me as I'm writing these, they can stay true and go to film, right? So that it's not.
I should introduce you to Rodney because he used to work on, you remember Gilligan Island from back in the
Yeah, no
90s?
Gilligan's Island.
Yeah,
Sure.
he used to work on Gilligan Island because it was one of the big shows on Nickelodeon back in the day. I should put you in touch with him because he's a pretty cool guy, and he teaches screenwriting over at UNC Charlotte also.
Sure. Hey, listen, this is why I do this stuff, because it's all about connectability, right? It's all about networking, and you just never know who's going to connect you to who and what doors are going to open up.
Yeah.
You know, I want this to be something that people enjoy. Like I said, it's not about me making a lot of money. I hope that happens as well. I know that's going to be the case, right?
Yeah.
If I value, so I do.
I mean, deep down,
we
I mean, let's be honest. Deep down, we all harbor that fantasy. I
want to be abundant.
So.
I want to be abundant financially, and the reason is not because I do want to have toys and enjoy my life, but I also want to do things for other people. I don't ever want to not have the option to help somebody out in a situation. So for me, I do want to have a lot, because there's a lot that I want to do.
Yeah.
You know, so I appreciate you, man. I hope this was fun for you, and let's stay in touch and do it again sometime.
Absolutely. I just want to thank everybody for taking the time to watch this episode, and remember to like, comment, subscribe. As always, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.